The Nick Saban era is over at Alabama, so what will this team look like in 2024? We're going to go through every single game on the schedule and give you predictions, but first some thoughts on this Alabama team, and I really don't know what to expect from this team, and I don't think anyone knows for sure what to expect from Alabama. Just first of all, looking at the roster and what they have coming back, Jalen Milroe, we saw his growth last season. They've got a good stable of running backs, a good offensive line. Wide receiver, who will emerge there? That'll be a bit of a question mark. And then you look at the defense, their front seven still really, really good. Still a ton of talent. And then in the secondary, maybe some question marks, especially at the cornerback position with some young but talented players. So, just looking at the roster, you would figure Alabama would be right there among the top teams in the country. How much will they miss Nick Saban? That is another question mark. I think defensively you're going to miss him for sure. I think this defense takes a step back, even though they do still have a lot of talent. You don't just replace Nick Saban, especially with his mind on that side of the ball. And again, some young cornerbacks. So I think the defense takes some steps back. And then offensively, this is where I just don't know what to expect. You look at Kalen DeBoer and what he was able to do at Washington. Well, he had Michael Penix Jr. as his quarterback. Jalen Milroe, let's be honest, he's not a Michael Penix Jr., but we did see growth last season. And how much growth do we see this offseason from him? How much better is he going to be with Kalen DeBoer as his head coach? We just don't know. And I think that's going to be the biggest question mark, the biggest story on this team is how good are they in the pass game, first with Jalen Milroe and his ability to get better, but also the receivers helping out, because this team does not really have much proven talent at that wide receiver position. Now I've got a lot of talent, a lot of young guys, but those guys are going to have to step up. So there are a lot of question marks for Alabama. Let's get into the schedule here, and we'll start with Western Kentucky on August 31st. They'll open up the season there. This has historically been, first of all, let's go to the Vegas win total, 9.5 wins. I think that's a pretty fair number. I think 9-3, 10-2, probably the most likely records for this team. But yeah, Western Kentucky, a team that's always good at throwing the football, always, one of the better group of 5 teams, and against a secondary that might be a little shaky. Maybe Western Kentucky can score some points in this game, but it's not going to be enough. Alabama's just way too talented. They win fairly easily and get off to a 1-0 start. Then they'll play South Florida. Of course, we remember that game last year. Alabama had a legitimate shot to lose that game. If they had just thrown a pick six or something, USF maybe wins that game. USF just could not do anything offensively, especially in the red zone. But I don't think we're going to see that same type of effort from Alabama. I think they'll be really focused. It'll kind of be like a revenge game for them, and I think they'll take care of business. So I think they win that game, get to 2-0, and then they'll play Wisconsin on September 14th on the road. Interesting matchup here. Wisconsin is a team that's going to have a good secondary, so Alabama really will probably have to rely on the run in this game a lot, which I think they'll have to do anyways. And that's another big key. If they use Jalen Milroe's strengths and they use him as a runner, you saw last year how much better this offense got. So I'm curious as to what they do. Do they use his strengths and let him run the football? Or are they gonna kind of be set on trying to run an offense similar to last year and throwing the football? That'll be a big question mark. There are just so many questions with this team. I think they have potential to be really, really good, but I think they also have potential to be like a 7-5 type team. It's just so many questions. So we'll see how it goes. Anyways, back to the Wisconsin game. This is a Wisconsin team that's going to be able to run. They're going to want to run football, but that's, I think, going to be the strength of this Alabama defense. So it's a pretty good matchup for Alabama. It is on the road. That's going to be a tough place to play. They'll be fired up. So I think because of that, Wisconsin plays inspired and they play well, but it's not going to be enough. I think Alabama wins it by a couple scores, and I think they get off to a 3-0 start. Then they'll play Georgia on September 28th. Huge game. They get a bye week before this game. I look at this Georgia team, and I look at Carson Beck and what I think they're going to be able to bring to the table, both running it and throwing it. I think this is going to be a tough offense to stop. I think they'll have some success throwing the football against this Alabama secondary. And then on the flip side, if Jalen Milroe does not become a really good passer, I think they're going to struggle offensively. The game was kind of lower scoring last year in the SEC Championship, but I don't think Alabama is going to be as good defensively as they were in that game. So I think that Georgia will take advantage of that. Kirby Smart, the proven veteran SEC head coach, that seems crazy. It doesn't, in a way, it seems like he was just hired yesterday, but he's the veteran SEC coach. I think they kind of take care of Alabama in this game. I think this is going to be a win by a couple of scores for the Bulldogs. All right, next they play Vanderbilt on October the 5th on the road. They should roll. This one shouldn't be close at all. And then South Carolina on the 12th. Really the same story here. I don't think South Carolina is going to be very good at all. The game's at home in Tuscaloosa. Don't really expect much from the South Carolina offense in this game. Alabama takes care of business. They get to 5-1. Then they'll play Tennessee. This is one that I've really struggled with, going back and forth. Tennessee is going to be able to score in this game, I believe, and especially with the secondary for Alabama being the question mark and the strength of this Tennessee team maybe being that passing game. I think they're going to be able to run it too, though. They're going to be balanced. So this is going to be a tough offense to stop. But I have some concerns about the Tennessee defense. And, I think their defensive line is going to be really, really good. But the back end, especially in the secondary, there are some question marks there. I think Alabama with Jalen Milroe probably getting better and better, and maybe they found some rhythm in that passing game. And I think that they probably have an advantage at the line of scrimmage, although it's a pretty close battle there. I think both defensive lines will have an advantage over the offensive lines in this game. And so you might see some mistakes by a young quarterback like Nico for Tennessee. If the defensive line can get to him, Jalen Milroe, a veteran, I think he's ready for it. I think Alabama wins this game, but I don't feel confident. I mean, again, I was back and forth on this one. I really could see this one going either way. I think it's a high-scoring game, similar to the game we saw a couple years ago in Knoxville, but I think Alabama finds a way to get it done this time. Then they'll play Missouri on October 26th at home. Missouri, I think, is going to be good, but I don't think they're going to be as good as what some people think. I don't think they're going to be a top 7 or 8 team this year. Their passing game, though, is going to be a problem, especially for this Alabama defense. That's going to be a big problem. But I think Alabama offensively is going to have a big day. I don't really like the Missouri defense to be as good as it was last year. I think Alabama's able to run it, able to throw it, playing at home. They get a win in a pretty close game. But I'm going with Alabama here. Then they get another bye week before playing LSU on the road November 9th. Of course, one of the toughest places to play in all of college football, Death Valley. Could be a night game even. This is going to be a good one. LSU is going to have, they're going to have a good passing attack just like Tennessee. And I go back to the game a couple of years ago when Harold Perkins basically beat Alabama by himself. He just controlled the game. I think LSU will learn their lesson from last year, and they'll turn him loose in this game. I think the home field advantage will be big. The offensive line for LSU is going to be really good, so I think they're able to run it, able to throw it in this game, able to stay balanced. And again, the defense will play. I don't know how good LSU's defense will be this year, how much they'll improve, but I think they'll play really well in this game just because it's just kind of what you see a lot of times when you get that home field advantage in a big game. I think the defense goes out and plays inspired. They find a way to make a couple plays. And again, I think they're better prepared than they were last year. LSU wins a close one. But really for me, I'm torn between Tennessee and LSU. I think Alabama probably splits those two games, so I could very easily see it going the other way and seeing them maybe lose to Tennessee and beat LSU. Those are the two games that I'm really struggling with. I don't want to pick them to lose both of them, but I don't want to pick them to win both of them either because I think they do lose one of those games. But I'm going to go with LSU as the loss. Again, could easily see that flipped. Similar matchups there. And then we've got Oklahoma on the 23rd of November. On the road, Oklahoma is going to have a really, really good defense. And I think this defense for Oklahoma it's going to be the type of defense that is able to slow down this Alabama offense. It's, besides Georgia, probably the best defense they'll play all year. This time, it's instead of the Georgia game being at home, this one's on the road too. So I think they'll really, really play well. Jackson Arnold, I think he'll grow up as the season goes along, and I think this offense will be good. I think they'll be balanced by this time. And I look at Alabama just playing on the road. Can they get a win in this tough environment? I don't think so. I'm going to go with Oklahoma. I think their defense is the difference. I think they are prepared for this game, and I think they've got the talent to match up with Alabama, and I think they win it because of their defense and playing at home. So you could even go to the Tennessee LSU, you could go to those 3 games, Tennessee, LSU, Oklahoma, and say, yeah, I think Alabama loses 2 of those games. It's hard to imagine them winning all 3 or even 2 of those games. They'll close things out with Auburn on November 30th. Last game of the season, it's the Iron Bowl. I think this will be a high-scoring game. I like Auburn's new receivers. I think they're going to be pretty good at throwing the football this year and much more balanced than they were last year. I don't know about their defense slowing down an offense like Alabama. So I think it's a shootout, a back-and-forth game. But it's the Iron Bowl. It's always close, it seems like. Well, sometimes in Tuscaloosa, we have seen this game not be all that close, but I think it will be close this time. But I think Alabama gets it done. Jalen Milroe makes some plays late, and we're going to go with the Crimson Tide to win that game and finish 9-3. So, yeah, I think the story is going to be the offense maybe is actually better for Alabama this year, more explosive, but the defense I think is going to take a bit of a step back. Again, without Nick Saban, you would expect that. So I think we see some more high-scoring games. I think the Georgia game is a high-scoring game, Tennessee game, Missouri game, LSU game, Auburn game, Oklahoma. I think that one might be a little bit lower scoring, but I think you're going to see some points. I think you're going to see some exciting football for Alabama, but with a very tough schedule. I've given them 3 losses here. You also look at, again, Tennessee, Missouri, even Auburn. So it may not go exactly like this, but I think this team at least loses 2 or 3 games. But I'm going to go 9-3. Love to get your predictions on this team. Let me know what you think about Alabama down in the comments below.